Hey guys, it's Roscoe, and on the Space Couch today I've got a Bigelow Aerospace update for you. It's been a little time since there's been any news about Bigelow, but there is in fact an update now available. It turns out Bigelow and NASA have signed what's known as a NextStep contract that's going to help to develop the BA330, and I assume no doubt other modules in due course, for use in possible missions to the Moon, to what's known as Lunar Base, which is like the Lagrange point, and Mars. NextStep's a program that NASA uses to help the private new space industry to develop their technologies and opportunities in space, and other companies have benefited from similar contracts. I mean, I think they're usually unfunded, sometimes there might be a little bit of funding. So obviously this plays to Bigelow's advantages. They've spoken of their proposed lunar base many times, obviously, and as we spoke in the previous video, the legal framework to help facilitate that is in fact starting to be put in place, you know, to allow commercial mining, property rights, all that sort of thing, as well as their on-orbit destinations, and probably they'll be the eventual replacement of the ISS. I would have thought, even though there's a crew of 6 on the ISS now, one BA330 holds 6 people if it's fully staffed. The replacement ISS, that's probably going to be 2 BA330s with maybe 10 people on it. I doubt it's going to be fully staffed. Could be more. It would be great, as big an ISS as possible. I can't see it happening, unfortunately. Although, having said that, as you know, Bigelow Aerospace's biggest advantage, one of their advantages, I don't know if it's their biggest, is cost. You know, it's like the ISS cost $100 billion, you know. If the next station is going to be costing that, there is not going to be a next station. I believe from their website, the flight and destination costs, it's all included. So you pay for your flight, all your food, everything that happens up on the station and all that. It's maximum is like $40 million, I think, wasn't it? Like, was it Boeing was like 37.5 and SpaceX was about 25, something like that. Can't remember the exact figures, and they might well have been updated since then. But again, cost is playing into all of this. Now, NASA's plans to visit some as yet to be determined asteroid, and of course their journey to Mars, their many decades long journey to Mars, is going to need this kind of habitat, you know, assuming that those missions proceed, which that is far from guaranteed, especially the asteroid mission. I mean, the Mars one, because they can keep putting it off and putting it off, putting it off, it's always like 20, 30 years in the future, yeah. The asteroid one, that needs decisions coming up much sooner, because they're supposed to be using Orion. We shall see what happens. Although, as we're all aware, NASA are not the only ones interested in Mars and the benefits of expandable technology, you know. I mean, as I've mentioned previously, I expect Elon Musk's Mars Colonial Transport is going to make extensive use of this habitat technology. Now, the MCT was due to be revealed later this year. I always thought it's going to be after the beam launch. Once the beam has been launched, it's expanded, that type of technology is validated, they're then prepared to start thinking about uses for the next version of that technology, obviously the 330 and the Olympus. Now, however, given that there was a CRS-7 loss and the beam's due to fly on CRS-8, SpaceX are not yet returned to flight, although there will be soon enough. It's very likely that obviously it's going to slip by several weeks at least, might slip into next year, the launch of the beam. Hope not, but the important thing is it gets up there safely and that technology gets validated. So I expect, again, the MCT reveal, that's going to be delayed also because of that. They're all linked to all these things. The other advantages, obviously, of the BA330 is clear. For instance, the Destiny module on the International Space Station, it weighs 15 tons. It's got 106 cubic meters of space. I'm not sure if that's the largest module. I think maybe the Kibo is 110. I'm not certain. But the BA330, it weighs 20 tons, but obviously has 330 cubic meters of space. So it weighs 1/3 more for 3 times the area. Not to mention, of course, the hard as concrete shell that surrounds the habitat. All that Kevlar, it was at 24 to 36 different layers. It is hard as a rock. Anything hits that, it's going to be okay. Well, micrometeorite damage, I expect. So that's where we are with Bigelow Aerospace. Interesting, they've got another one of these NASA contracts. These NASA contracts, they fly under the radar because it's not like NASA wants to spend $1 billion on X, Y, or Z. It's like, here's 100 grand, or maybe here's a few personnel, and have a look at some of these engineering designs, see if you can do anything with them, you know. And obviously, private industry is always much more productive in finding new ways of exploiting technology than, say, government contractors or indeed government bureaucracies like NASA itself. So again, one step closer to multiple orbital stations. That's going to be so cool. I mean, I'm sure I have seen the ISS flying overhead, although you never know if it's that or it's a satellite. Once there's loads of stations up there, you will know you're looking at a space station. And what I'm really looking forward to is, you know those fantastic guys who take pictures of the ISS from the ground, you know, whether it's transiting the sun or the moon or just in space, and some of them's pretty close up as well. Really looking forward to seeing versions of that Bigelow habitats. That would be awesome. That's like proper science fiction space stations. I really love it. And not to mention just the orbital destinations, that Lunar Base. I mean, if NASA's kind of like mentioning about the moon, and as you know, the moon is not one of NASA's current destinations, it's Mars and the asteroid, moon's going to be a lot easier to get to, especially if it's a commercial company who wants to go, rather than yourself. Let them go, prepare the way, set up the infrastructure, obviously with NASA's help and the military's no doubt. Let's have, yeah, definitely, let's spread to the moon. Have a base on there. Have a base on the far side of the moon. Especially like some sort of deep space observatory, you know. That would be a fantastic location for that. And as well as bases, of course, long-range spacecraft now appear to be a little bit closer. Do you remember there was the Nautilus X was shown a few years ago? That was NASA's proposed long-range explorer for the solar system. Could be getting closer to things like that, you know. I mean, it's going to be a bunch of habitats all along the central spine, possibly some sort of ring structure if they're wanting artificial gravity. Ideally, you would want to start off at 1G and over the course of your journey, dial it back to the Martian gravity. We shall see. Although it'd be easier, maybe, going to Martian gravity from 0G. I don't know. I think they're going to need to have some sort of AG on the flight out there. So, has the future arrived? Now that space stations are starting to show up, you know, talking about lunar bases, Lagrange point stations, and as I've mentioned previously, there will be military outposts. Have no doubt about that. Anyway, guys, that's just the latest news on Bigelow Aerospace. So one of the most fascinating companies in the new space industry, along with SpaceX, of course. Thoroughly looking forward to seeing that beam finally getting launched whenever it is, and I will bring you another update on that when it occurs. Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment or a suggestion for an upcoming topic you'd like to see discussed, or hit that like button.